Hello everybody, I'm Winy Maas. I'm the M of MVRDV. I'm architect, landscape architect and urbanist. And I made recently the Depot, and I would like to invite you to join me on this tour to give you an impression on the why and how of the first public depot in the world. Please join me. The depot has landed here in the Rotterdam Museum Park, which is actually a series of gardens that are connected to each other on the base of a concept of Rem Koolhaas and Yves Brunier in the end of the 80s. It is a place that is actually surrounded by many institutions. When I walk you around, you can see here the Unilever building, you see the hospital, you see the Kunsthal of Rem. You see here the Boijmans Van Beuningen, the other gardens, and you see het Nieuwe Instituut, the HNY on the other side. So how to do that? And how to make a building that on one hand loves the park, that wants to embrace it, a very classical issue. How can we make buildings that love the landscape? And secondly, that is somehow not reflecting on the other buildings, or not in a that doesn't take, say, the architecture of the others for granted. And that leads to a building that on one hand is round, you can walk around, and secondly it has almost no footprint. It touches the planet, say, slightly, and that compensates the green by having a forest on the roof. And last but not least, by covering it with mirrors, now you can look around. You can look around the corner. You can see yourself. You can see the forest behind you. You can see the whole park, and you can see the city. And somehow then you give the city back, and that it becomes of us in that way. And maybe that's one of the ways of turning an enclosed operation, an archive, into a collective body. So the depot is landed on a pavement, and we call it the canvas of the city. So when you project in the evening, you see projections coming from Pippi Lotti-Riest's artwork on the canvas. It reflects in the building, and you are in a kind of three-dimensional piece of art. You walk as Alice in Wonderland in suddenly this three-dimensionalization. Now we are close to the depot. The depot stretches above you. It goes down and touches the earth horizontally, showing that actually the building is founded on just a couple of piles, because below the water needs to continue. It is part of our, say, new climate protection scheme of of Rotterdam. Therefore, it looks almost like a boat, one could say. And it also avoids that water comes into the building, because all the art is a couple of stories up. And we decided on making like doors that are part of the mirror, that can open themselves smoothly. So you start here, and then you look at yourself, and it takes the time for you to think about where you come from and where you're going to. And almost a bit like, say, Thunderbirds, it opens itself. Thunderbirds has landed somewhere in Rotterdam. Welkom in. We have arrived in the lowest part of the building, the entrance zone. Here our journey starts. The art drops down to this lowest floor. It is situated higher up to protect itself against climate change and floodings. And here I will drop my coat in the wardrobe that's done by an artist, John Kermling. Here we enter the central atrium. It's a kind of a vertical street in the heart of the building that is surrounded by all the different archives 5 stories high. And every archive is represented by doors and windows to the atrium. The archive is sorted by material, by sculptures, by paper, by photographs, by paintings that require this different kind of, say, circumstances or environments. And when you walk around and you go from window to window, from door to door, it feels almost like a city of art that you are facing. This atrium is surrounded by galleries, say streets, 50 types of room, different types of humidity, different types of light, different types of size, different size of temperature. One can enter all these depots in different ways. From the archives, different, say, pieces can be brought into the atrium, where we have made 15 different, say, glass boxes where paintings can be shown, or pottery can be shown, or specific art can be shown. And in between, the stairs zigzag up and down, the lifts go up and down, so that you can see the art from all sides. It's fantastic to see how in the back you can see who did made and when, and that unravels, say, where it comes from, or how it's treated, or how it's restored. All the things that are somehow normally hidden in our museums. It's a kind of zigzag road between the art, between the front and the back. We are in the street of restorations. There are many rooms for different climates to restore the different types of art. It means also that the public can see that the people that restore, the restorators, that they are also somehow public, and that they, I think it gives more knowledge of what they do. You can see the precision, also the time and the planning, how much time they need for making this into a beautiful piece again. Actually, the depot is a kind of city, almost, with streets where you explore them, this kind of encounters. You go further. We are entering one of the archives now. We do it together, so please open the door. Yes. I have to put on my coat here to protect it, the paintings against possible dust. Here, say, no curator has somehow organized this. This is organized by time, by technique. But I can open together with people from the museum any rack, and then we can explore its richness and its vastness. You look around, you pull out such a rack, and you see these strange combinations. So it's a completely different way of looking to art than in a museum. This is not a museum, this is an archive. It's actually a very democratic way of being with art or showing art, because you can pull wherever. You can select what you like. I wish that the Met or the MoMA would have such a kind of facade. The archive building, the depot, is actually a building that comes from dark up to light. Just look down. We have arrived on the roof, which is basically the replanted trees, and birch trees, pine trees, high grasses. They are pre-trained in our countryside, and the roots are interconnected so that they make a rhizome against the wind. Windshields are there to guide the wind up over the buildings. Pockets are created to shelter against the wind. We are working on the garden to add more pine trees. The and it reflects, the building reflects basically the nature, in same as downstairs, I would say, to make the forest even bigger. It is prepared for also another step in opening up the archive and bringing pieces into the grass and in between the grass. So this becomes a next installation for another artist, another curator that will monitor the gardens. So here water is stored as part of the water management plan with a package of soil and drainage, and then taken into account by the trees. They are kept, they are evaporated, and that controls both the cooling of the building as say the water management system of the building. Of course, I dream actually that this would happen everywhere, and that this is the first step of a greenification of Rotterdam. It's a city that grew in the 19th and 20th century, that has been bombarded and that now shows different energies of different times, and every piece of this building adds a respectful building in what I call the collection of Rotterdam. This is an urbanism that over time shows how to deal with new perspectives and combine that with the past. I hope this building contributes as a next step to that repertoire.